Hey, everybody, and welcome to Keeping It Spiritually Simple. My name is Sandra, and I am here with Mark Attwood. Mark's
Hello.
a pod, Mark's a podcaster, a poet, and he knows it. An author. He is empowerment to the people, a truther, a dad of five, and just an awesome guy. I followed him now for a number of years, not like a puppy dog or anything like that, but I am always interested in what he puts out. And it seems like in the last couple years, it's just blown up. You've got something on every channel. And I know, like, I caught you on Substack and I never watch anything on Substack. And I got drawn into that last night. So you're everywhere, including getting stuck on ferries in the UK.
Well, I'm in the west of Ireland, not the UK, but
Oh,
that's okay. I am British by birth, and I was, yeah. I've got some. We just had an event here this weekend for our healing clinics, and then I've got some house guests, and they wanted to go to this place called Krishna Island, which is this Hare Krishna temple on a house on an island in Northern Ireland. And I thought, yeah, I can squeeze this in. So we went up. And then when we got there, we had to wait ages for this 30-year-old ferry to trundle over to pick us up. And then when we were I said, look, I've got to leave because I've got a show with Sandra. And they said, well, we have to wait for the guy to start the ferry up. And then then the engine didn't work. And I was stood there going, okay. And then we had
no.
to race here in the dark on the back lanes of Ireland, which is not particularly safe. But here I am. Sorry for keeping you waiting. Here I am. And Happy New Year and whatever else is going on, even though it's not really the new year. But
Exactly. Well, listen, love means never having to say you're sorry. So I think we're good.
Okay, cool.
Divine timing. So, when I was listening to your show on Substack, you had asked the other couple a question like, if did you ever think your 16-year-old self could imagine what it's like? And I really had to kind of go back in my mind's eye at 16. And at 16, I would know nothing about really the political or the financial arena, although I came in very spiritually aware in this particular lifetime. I knew religion would fall apart and crumble. And when I was thinking about it, I said, and I'm still kind of waiting for that. And then spirit was like, oh no, Sandra, it's showing you every day. Look at the multitudes of non-dimensional spiritual truthers who are non-religious. That whole group is growing and growing by leaps and bounds. So, yeah, I thought that was an interesting question because at 16, what the hell do we know at 16?
You want to know? I've got 5 teenagers at the moment, and it's
Uh,
it's kind of interesting where they're like, "What do you do again?" And I'm like, "Don't worry about it. You'll you work it out when you're older."
yeah.
Um, it's our path, isn't it? I mean, I get the feeling from looking at your website and your channel that we're on the same page with a lot of things, and it's just it's so funny because I always knew that people would say to me, "Do you think you've made it? Do you think you've done what you need?" And I was like, "I feel like I've just started. There's something." I always knew there was something coming, and then every single piece of information I gathered over the years, not just from reading things and watching things, but also from my own experiences, was all pointing towards 2020, and then it's 4 years later.
I know.
Who knew?
We
Just
who
thunk it.
knew? Well, I think we're in this like accelerated time warp where linear time is for many who are a little more awakened than others. You can feel and sense the glitches, and it's been on warp speed. And so you can't just say, I've got to like have a resolution for this past year. It's like all of a sudden everything's crammed into the day. It's like, oh my God, what do I do moving forward?
But I just said to somebody, it's the 24th day of January in 2024, and this has been the craziest year so far out of the
Yeah.
last in
Yeah.
for the first 3 weeks.
Yes, it has. And as much as it seems like it's speeding by, to me, it has felt like it's been a long month. I don't know why. It just has. Although I wake up every morning not knowing what day it is and what I'm supposed to do in that day. Literally, I wake up thinking, well, what's today? No, that's not the right day. So it's all a big blur.
Yeah, and
So,
I think the reason why it seems like a long month is because it's been energetically massive. You know, at 2 p.m. GMT on Saturday, we had a room full of 30 odd people, and it became the Aquarius age at that moment. And literally, well, most of the people in the room all started nodding off and then feeling, and they've all been ill since. And then my kids have been, loads of people are experiencing this because we're all doing, a lot of people are waking up feeling their muscles hurting, their body hurting, and like they're going through massive detox. And this, I think that personally, and what I'm getting is that we're going through yet another level of letting go, because we're truly letting go of this dimension, really, and we're merging in with our higher selves and straddling dimensions, and that's pretty hard work.
it is. I call it like spirit was showing me like spiritual laser therapy. And the laser hones in on areas that you need to do more letting go and evolving. And you have to be involved with the evolving, right? To have things change. But at the same time, it's like another form of metamorphosis. And although I'm freaking tired of being in the cocoon and coming back out and going back in, I'm trusting that my limbs and my eyes and my brain cells will all wind up where they're supposed to be.
Well, trust. And that's one of the big words of the last 4, 5, 6, well, longer. But with trust the plan. I've kind of interpreted that as it's not a 3D thing. There's a wider scope to it, which is really trust yourself, trust your inner guidance, trust your connection to God, and go into your heart and walk the warrior path, knowing you're going to be okay. And
Mhm.
that takes strength, it takes courage, it takes resilience and perseverance. And and everybody's it's still, I was looking at Telegram on the way here in the car, and I was like, wow, there's a lot of people really despondent, and I've had enough, I've had enough. And it just reminded me of military training, when people would be doing assault courses and just, I can't go any further. I can't go any further. And it's like, you can actually, you can go a lot further. And getting over that finish line is something that we all have the ability to do. And God knows that. It's just a case of us working that out. And because the feeling when we get to the other side of this is going to be so euphoric that you'll have forgotten all the pain by then.
Mhm.
Like climbing a mountain, it's just, I climbed Snowdon a few years ago. I nearly gave up halfway up, and in fact, I might have done that time. Which is a mountain in Wales. It's not as big as your mountains in America, but it's quite big and very cold. Um, but don't give up. Don't ever give up. That's really what this is about. And try and enjoy the journey, because these feelings, the being ill isn't fun. But when you're not ill, you don't remember it. So just remember there's going to be another side to it, and
Mhm.
do whatever it takes to get through. That's what I've been hopefully correctly telling people to do for quite a while. And whenever I prescribe anything to anybody, I'm actually talking to myself. So
Absolutely. That's the best way to solve things. I answer myself all the time. I'm always in question or inquisitive about something. And you know what you're talking about is you're giving birth. I mean, you can go through gestational periods of anything that you're working towards, and you're giving birth to something. And as painful as it may be, and you hate it in the moment, you rejoice in the joys later, but then you're ready to go do it all again. I mean, I used to be a labor and delivery coach. So many people, I was never doing this again. Oh my God. And 6 months later, it's like, oh, I can't wait to go do this again. You're like, let me just remind you. So we are going through a lot of inner growth, and you don't know what the endurance really is until you go moment by moment. What you're saying about having the real courage to and strength to be in the moment, that takes a lot, because our minds want to project out there to what's coming, and then we think we're preparing ourselves in sort of a way, a mechanism of survival. But at the same time, we are projecting out our nervous systems all the time. So we're always incoming, incoming, incoming. And it takes us away from the ability to sit still or in stillness and maybe just tune out some of the things that are going on so you can align in that moment.
Yeah, it's very interesting you put it like that, because it's kind of a global monkey mind that's going on. Blah, 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 blah. And if you're meditating, that if you've never heard that expression, it's like your conscious thoughts are like a monkey on a tree, just jumping from tree to tree, thought to thought, and you just got to steady it down. And the whole endurance aspect of this is really about getting enough people in that state of consciousness, vibrating at the right frequency to hold the space for everybody else to go through this process. And, the majority of amazing people that subscribe to my channel and your channel and other people that are doing similar kind of things are all points of light. And we have to remember that and try to enjoy the journey. And it's interesting you use the analogy with birth, because somebody said that on Saturday, and they said, it's like birth. You don't want to go through it again. I said, you don't want to go through the pain. And I put my hand up and said, that's not true, because orgasmic birth is painless. Said the guy the man in the room. And that's only because I witnessed it with my own children. Emergency cesarean, which was hell. This is the mother of my children.
Mm-hmm.
Then a VBAC, which was also incredibly difficult, and then a natural home water birth, and then an orgasmic birth of twins, the first natural twins born in Britain in 40 years. So, which I, partook in as the father. And, and that was really about standing, that whole process for their mother was standing in her power, but also as a father, for me, it was me standing in my power. And this is really what this is all about. It's just about getting enough of a notion of the concepts of taking complete and utter responsibility for every single aspect of your being. So it's health sovereignty, wealth sovereignty, emotional, physical, and spiritual sovereignty. And all of those things, that's a lot of stuff, to go through, especially as we are so conditioned coming into this matrix to be so reliant upon the systems that are there and not question them. Kids don't even question I never questioned what money was. I'm just looking at my wallet while I'm saying that. That's why it's popping into my head. I did a degree in economics. I mean, what is this stuff? It's an IOU, right? It's an IOU. But where are we now? I got given this the other day. Excuse me, which is actual gold money.
Hmm.
It's worth about 15. That's gold imprinted on paper, and it's
Wow.
actually gold, but it's in your wallet, which is like,
Mm-hmm.
that's where we need to go. This is South Dakota Goldbacks, I think this is. That's real money, whereas this is an IOU. That's got gold on
Mm-hmm.
it. That's got nothing behind it. And I did a 3-year degree in economics. Nobody ever said, nobody mentioned it, the fractional reserve banking system, because there's so many things that we just get beliefs just get passed on to us by our parents mainly. And then obviously the indoctrination system, otherwise known as the education system, then the media.
Mm-hmm.
These things are far more powerful than people realize, because the great thing about the crazy thing about brainwashing is you don't realize you don't know you're brainwashed until you stop being brainwashed. So, you know,
Mm-hmm.
part of the fun, isn't it?
And the other thing too with all of that, and you don't know when you're brainwashed until you actually allow yourself to be still enough to get an aha moment that this isn't really reality, or this is a huge reality track check. And many of us just follow the programs because I know for me, decades ago, I thought if I went out of the program in some ways, I was calling my parents and their parents and others liars by not following the way they were. But I kind of came in as a rebel anyway, so I just kept my mouth quiet. So it just looked like I was coasting along with some of the programs, but yet spiritually and otherwise, I knew things were very, very different. But we're not going to change the system until we sit still enough to be in the moment and give that moment some momentum to build to make your tomorrow better and make the program better. So if you don't have to crumble the program, you could tweak the program, redesign the program, or just chuck it all out the freaking window and start from scratch. You know, you are an architect, you are an engineer. You don't need degrees in it to figure out what works for you in your life.
Yeah, we don't need approbation. You know, from the beginning of doing this, my show in 2020, I was getting very strong messages to teach this to people to say, look, you don't, if you're a writer, you don't need a publishing contract, right? You don't need a publishing contract. You've got all the tools in front of you to make an incredibly profitable writing career if you wanted to. You can go on Substack, get paid subscribers. You can use Substack to write your book, to get paid to write your book. You don't need, and you know, I've got a friend who did a best-selling book 4 or 5 years ago. I think the book turned over £1 million, and he had about 50,000 out of it, which is 5% of the revenue. That's
Mm.
insane, you know, the amount of money and the publishing companies are all cabal anyway. So you know, if you're one of us, then they're not going to publish you, or if they did, they change it to suit their agenda, which is
Mhm.
usually creating limited hangouts, especially in spiritual books. You know, most of them are limited hangouts, including the Bible. Um, so you know, if you wanted to be a comedian or a stand-up or a poet or anything, you don't need somebody else to tell you. You put it out, put it on YouTube. People will, the audience will tell you. You don't need a certificate. You don't need a qualification. It's all nonsense, and it's incredible how it's funny you mentioned that about architects and education, because it's amazing how stifling and how much potential is wasted by putting young people in the education system for so bloody long, because it's all designed for the no child left behind nonsense, right? And anybody watching this who doesn't know what I mean, go and look up Charlotte Isabit's book, The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America, which you can get as a free PDF online if you look it up. Go and look up Sir Ken Robinson's talk, Do Schools Kill Creativity, on YouTube. It was actually on TED, which is the most dubious platform for education there is, but Ken Robinson's talk on there is the most watched TED talk of all time. Um, you know, the answer, everything we need is in front of us. This is what it keeps coming back to for me. And what's been really interesting, and it'd be interesting in your thoughts over the last 4 years, is the amount of things put in our way to distract us from moving forward at the speed of light, which is really what the Age of Aquarius, instant manifesting, 5D, and everything else is all about. In my opinion, is that we can very, very quick. And the universe has such a sense of humor as well, because I've been I've been doing Laurel and Hardy impressions for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and looking up old Laurel and Hardy films and having a laugh about that. And then we stop at this gas station on the way to this island today, and there's a painting of Laurel and Hardy on the in the middle of island in this. It's just that's how this works. And you and
Mhm.
trust, and these signs, even the funny ones like that, you know, it's not all moments, road to Damascus moments. You know, it's just there's comedy all around you because God is hilarious, and you know, they're all signs to sort of chivvy you along and give you some momentum along the way. What do you think?
Well, you know, I always think spirit's working with your guides are working with you with in a humorous way, because being too serious, you're stumbling over yourself, really. Um, and you're taking yourself too seriously. The last 4 years, I think, when we had, you know, the whole global brakes put on, you know, out of our control, out of our permission slip, so to speak, and people didn't know what to do with themselves because they were accustomed to running in their programs that they were running in, and many people don't understand the road traveled. When I was a kid, you know, grade wise, I was never an A student. My sister was, and I was supposed to live up to her, and I really struggled. And, but I was very smart when it came to basic road intuitive mapping of myself. I just made so much sense, and what I was doing made a lot of sense. But when we got to the last 4 years, we're finding more and more people, once they kind of got out of that lockdown, many people went straight back to the same program, trying to, latch on to the old ways. And other people are like fed up to here and fed up to here, and they're awakening to the possibilities that, gosh, we really were born into an obstacle course that's invisible to most people until you open up that third eye, open up that heart center, and then you can see the obstacles. And then I think in the last year or so, spirits really worked a way to, um, dissolve a lot of those obstacles, but people are still tripping over them as if they were there. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. It's like, if you get your arm chopped off, you still think you can still feel your fingers. It's
Yes.
kind of like that. And I think
Yes.
while you were explaining that, I think it just made me smile because I thought back to when Trump lost, even though he didn't lose, because you look and everybody was like, "What? we got to go through more of this." And it's what is it, 4 years later, nearly. Um, it's just hilarious because it's all God's plan and it's necessary. It's been all
Mhm.
of this has been absolutely necessary, and I don't know about you, but I'm kind of chilled out about it really now. I think I spent 3 years being like, gotta churn it out, churn it out, churn it out, and I want to save everybody. And it's kind of like, well, I still want to save as many. I still want to. I mean, I want to say save. I don't think I'm Jesus or anything. I just mean like I've got a healing center. Let's do something about it now. The med beds aren't here yet. Let's do something now. We have things in front of us we can use. We can change people's lives really cheaply and easily, actually, if it's just knowledge. Everything's in front of us. So, that's why I continue to try to do my best speaking out and actually physically opening up places for people. But, it's I've kind of had to accept that some people you just can't wake. You can take a horse to water, but a pencil must be led. And they come if we're building the world that we want to see and we start because manifesting involves taking action. I was teaching the law of attraction for years before COVID, and the big thing that was missing from The Secret or Think and Grow Rich, the chapters that got taken out of Think and Grow Rich by Carnegie, were the ones that kind of made it so the thing that the bit of it that explained the fact that you've got to actually take action and believe it before you start doing it, and you've got to believe it in your gut. And that's the thing where most people go wrong and give up, and that's when they flip back to the programs. And the programs,
Mhm.
for me, I call it clinging to the side of the swimming pool. I was not a great swimmer as a child because I think my mother had read some book on how to teach a kid how to swim by dunking them in the water, which didn't go down too well when I was 3 years old. And so I was actually afraid of the water for quite a long time. And then one day I just jumped in and swam. And that's it. You gotta just go, well, if he can do it or she can do it, then why can't I do it? And I'm just gonna jump in and
Mhm.
do it. And
Mhm.
without the armbands and just jump in out of your depth because that's the only way forward. And if you drown, then maybe you come back and do it again.
Yeah, that's if you have no fear. And as a child, kids don't normally have fear unless there's some kind of trauma that's been transferred over from maybe another lifetime, or in some kind of subliminal way. Maybe they've overheard something that they're not aware of, or parents aren't aware of. Whatever it is your belief system is, it's irrelevant. Your fact is you're scared to swim, or you've got some fear there for whatever reason. I know in 2019, Spirit said to me, no distractions. It was January, I think 17th, 2019. No distractions, no distractions, no distractions. And I kept saying, I don't know why you're telling me that. I don't get so distracted. Call me ADD if you choose, but I don't get so distracted. 2020 came around, and oh my gosh, I had to shut the doors to people that I knew in the past because I couldn't take any of the phone calls. I couldn't take all the stuff that was going on and popping up on social media because it was all a distraction. But a distraction from what? To me, it was a distraction from me having time to self develop and being able to sit still, having permission to sit still and communicate with divine spirit, call it God, call it what you want, my higher self, learn to communicate. And during that time, I was able to develop my sight just from sitting still and talking with spirit instead of all this constant running, 8 to 5, 10 and 2, got my to do list. And so we're moving into this phase now where people are going to need to stop and let go of a lot of these distractions and admit to themselves it's not working. It's not working. I need to be one less in this cesspool. I need to be one less and one more in self development. So I'm so glad to hear that you're opening up these centers so people can come and heal from what distracts them because pain is a distraction. Mental monkey mind is a distraction. And many of us give that mental monkey mind full momentum and not understanding the frequencies in which that creates for the rest of the body to read as communication. And so you can be way down here in this register all the time and think that's normal, or you can learn to shift it and then start to play with the instrument that you are, which has all the information in it if you just frickin' sit still long enough and listen.
I couldn't agree more. But I think one of the issues from the spiritual point of view is that um people let go of one dogma and then go into another dogma and
Mhm.
then another dogma. And it's like, no, this is all about you. It's all about you're the only person in the room. You're the only one here. And once you kind of understand that, then you go, okay, because everybody that's annoying you or distracting you and keeps popping up is there because you've not cleared something in yourself. And it's interesting about what you said about kids coming in with no fear, because one of my children came in remembering his previous life and refused to answer his name when I was trying to feed him. He'd go, "No, I'm not that, I this," and then he told his whole life story, and he drowned at the age of 8 in a river, and that in that previous life. I don't know if that was the directly previous, but it certainly looked like he just popped back into this world.
Mhm.
And then he was constantly falling in the swimming pool and had to be saved on numerous occasions as a baby.
Mhm.
And this is just part of that's just the way this is. And it is the matrix. It is we are the creators. This is why they've gone to so much massive effort to cause so much trouble for us, because we chose it, we created it. This is how we grow. So start enjoying yourself is my motto.
Oh, I'm with you there. Everything's a lesson, good, bad, or indifferent. Whether it's a lump and a bump or whether it's, a skip to Maloo. Either way, it's a lesson to learn. Do I want more of this? Is this working for me? Does this bring me a little bit of joy? Does it make sense? Is it getting me ahead in my life? Or is this a hindrance? And you were talking about annoying people. You
Hmm.
know, that's always a trigger because we have to go back to, oh, no judgment. Let them be the way they are. How can I be in their presence and just let that go? Let that go because someone could find me annoying as hell. And I
Yeah,
don't
I
intend,
annoy people.
I don't
I
mean
annoy
to.
people all the time.
I don't intentionally do it, but some people don't get me or they don't read me. And so I kind of had to live with that. So I work on myself. I work on how can I be of no judgment. And then my feelings as I've gotten older don't get as hurt because I've been working on that inner core of judgment from others. So I work on it within myself so I'm not judging others as often or as harshly because, yeah, I can get a little harsh.
Well, yeah, well, me too. And forgiveness and compassion are the two, and boundaries. They're the three big things in the last few years for me personally,
Mhm.
and I've seen that a lot with other people as well. and it does, coming back to what you said about going back to your 16-year-old self, it still makes me laugh because somebody said to me about a year ago, so you're a spiritual leader. I said, no, I'm not. I'm just an ordinary person who's had spiritual experiences, and I've made tons of mistakes, and I'm a completely imperfect being. That's why I called my show Adventures in a Cosmic Suit, because it's like, it's not about being perfect. It's about enjoying the adventure and seeing it as a series of lessons that you can just get a better life by going through,
Mhm.
or even maybe not even in this life, but getting your soul to the point where it feels like, well, wow, I've really. There's a great meme, or I can't remember who said it. It might be Rumi or somebody like that, but you know, just imagine yourself getting to the end of your life, skidding over the finish line, and making a big mess and going, whoa, that was good, as opposed to this whole mortgage job system. I mean, the great thing about the last 4 years is it should be so obvious to everybody that it's completely a harvesting system. It's an energy harvesting system. And back to the money, that's all
Mhm.
your energy that's being harvested. Taxes, war. I mean, I did a video this morning about the fact that the British head of the British Army said to the British ministers in government that the army is not big enough if we do go to war with Russia. So we're going to have to start conscription again. I'm like, what are you talking about? But and then some people said, you can't take these things seriously. But you're an evil man for saying that the Queen of England is a satanic pedophile, and it's like, well, you know, you'll learn it one day yourself. But none of it matters, because although I can't stand the idea of people dying for no reason,
Yeah.
it is also their sole choice as well. And I'm looking forward to getting through this, but I understand that this is a huge job. You've got
Mhm.
all these souls trying to work this stuff out, and I think I don't know what you think, but I think that pretty much everything we're seeing in the world is literally there as spiritual lessons, I'm not afraid of the outcome. I am an apocalyptimist. Um, I'm totally optimistic about the outcome for humanity, but it is uncomfortable. What do you think? Are we still seeing good guys versus bad guys, or is that just a projection of what's inside us collectively that we're going to work through? Where are you at with that, Sandra?
So Spirit has shown me a long time ago the polarity of it's gone. Everyone's just still playing it out. They're just still playing out the old game of good versus evil. I think we're in divine time right now. I think the light is here, and it's been here for some time, and it just hasn't been recognized that we're it's like a corporate takeover, right? The light takes over the dark. So now we have to kind of clean house from level entry people up to CEOs, up to all the demographics that get a business to run. So we're sort of in that reconstruction phase of all the light is here, and we're just working through what was here that no longer needs to be here. And you don't have to be fully awake to see it. It's going to play out on its stage, regardless of what you need to know and what you don't need to know. But I want to go back to something you were saying about the journey. You know, my journey isn't your journey. However, can't our journeys cross? And I love you for who you are. You love me for who I am. I'm creating no harm. You're creating no harm. I'm finding my way, making my mistakes, which I don't call mistakes, I call lessons. They're all lessons to learn, whether you're going to choose to repeat them or not. But I think we're all here to play our part, and we have to learn that there's multiple people and there's multiple backup actors to help you in this part, um, to get to some place where there's a lot more lighty, shiny, God source feeling of joy in more people.
Yeah, when you started saying that about the light already being here and playing out, I did have a good laugh the other day watching Michael Moore endorse Donald Trump, and I thought this is really funny. This is starting to get really
Mhm.
funny, because you couldn't get a man more apart from Donald Trump than Michael Moore. But
Well,
it's
I'm
I
at
think
the good.
they're gone.
No, I was gonna say I've had the privilege of, being in rooms with all the Trumps, and I do
Well,
a lot of
I've had
volunteer
two of them.
work, yeah,
Two of
in
them.
DC,
Yeah.
and, I'll be doing it again this year in DC, and, I always work the VIP area and seat everybody, and you know what? They're all working human beings, every single one of them. When you see them outside of a television screen, where you have them all pumped up in this position or not, whether you hate or like, it doesn't matter. When you're in the room with a lot of these people, they're just people trying to do their job to make the world a better place. And some of them are adversarial and some of them are all on the same page. And you just got to kind of be in it. And I like to do stuff like that because I like to read the energy of the room and stay totally neutral. That's a power trip for me, honestly. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. Just kind of hover over, just read everybody's energy. And yeah, so we'll see what happens coming up.
Yeah, it is. I think one of the reasons I brought that up is because there's still what I see is so many people still bogged down in the 3D version of everything, and
Hmm.
they want dates, they want intel, and you look around and I've been saying for a long time the only intel you need is here. It's
Yeah,
you've already got all the answers. Um,
right.
so it's just really about kind of helping people along to get to that point, I suppose, and just inspiring people to take action because you're sovereign. You can't have a sovereign nation or a world without sovereign individuals. So we have to get to the point where we realize we've got so much more than we thought before, and we don't have to do as we're told by mummy and daddy, who call themselves the government because they have
Hmm.
never had your interests at heart. They've murdered your ancestors and you. And no, it's time to say no more, which is incredibly empowering. But even at the event at the weekend, I was still quite surprised at how far behind people are with certain aspects of this, because in terms of like the legal systems or the business systems or the taxation thing, people are still afraid of the IRS and the Inland Revenue. They're still afraid of parking fines and speeding tickets, and even though there are very, very simple remedies for those things, and I'm seeing just great progress in lots of ways with people taking action with this sort of thing. But I'm interested to know, and I think this year's pivotal. I mean, don't you, with this, because it's this 24 election year, things in the 3D have to play out this year. And
Hmm.
it seems to me like they already are at a high speed. But sometimes I get lost in my own world and I don't know what's necessarily going on. What from your point of view, how's it looking?
Well, I think we're going to be full steam ahead, whether we like it or not. Our hair's going to come forward, whether you brush it that way or not. You're going to get blown in direction of massive changes, and there's still people holding on to wanting it to be like it was a couple years ago or last year or 20 years ago. And you can live there if you choose to, or you can be part of the movement that you came here to be a part of. And I think there's many people on this path that are like, I know I'm meant to be here to do more things, but what is that? And you got to stop, drop, sit, connect with that breath and find out where you are in these moments. And I think here in the States, I think there's a lot of people who voted in a different way 4 years ago out of hatred and are now seeing the aftermath of what's causing the pain within their family, their economics, their paychecks, the prices of everything. They're seeing, wow, I made a choice out of hatred instead of out of reality and logic. And there was someplace else I was going with that. And I'm trying to think of where that was. But I know the one thing I wanted to say was we're so busy wondering where we're going that we don't stop and see the flowers among us at this moment, you know? And there's so many people out here that want to predict everything. And that's great. Planetary alignments, that's fantastic. It all plays a part. Everything plays a part. You have to figure out, what is your part? What's my part? Where where do I best serve as a server of the light, but also a customer of the light, right? Because I've got to walk my walk. I got to be true to me in order to attract the people that want to work with me, right? So, yeah, I don't know where else I was going with that. There was so much in there. The motor was going, Mark.
No, I know, and it's funny because as you were talking, I was looking at those flowers over there and thinking about the flowers that I just got put around my neck a couple of hours ago by
Mm.
this lovely guy called Mark at the Krishna island place today. And it is that old Buddhist thing about, you're getting chased by a lion and you fall off the side of a cliff. And if you're going to get eaten if you climb up, and you're going to fall to your death and the stick's breaking. So what do? You look at that flower in front of you and just contemplate that, because that's living in the present moment, and that's the big lesson
Mm-hmm.
everybody's going through it. I don't know about you, but I'm forgetting names. I'm forgetting. You said you don't know what day of the week it is. I'm forgetting words like nobody's business. I'm having to force myself to do things like that. And this is why I've started doing Substack, because I'm really enjoying the writing. And I did think about a year ago, I was like, well, there's nothing more to talk about, really. I've done over 1,000 videos. I've talked about pretty much everything I can think of right now. And then I got told go on Twitter and do this, and then I got told to go and open up a healing center. And I was like, okay, that keeps me busy. And it's just trusting that these things, when you're in flow with that, it is grace and ease, and these things do happen easily. Then people get cross and they go, oh, it's so easy for you, blah blah blah. And I'm like, no, I'm no different to you. It's just it's just I'm showing you that an idiot can do this, right? Because I'm the
Mm-hmm.
idiot and I can do it. So
Well, we're all going to survive. And if you don't, you're going to go somewhere else and come back, or go somewhere else. You're never going to die from anything that's going on. I for me have I've been in the lowest tax brackets, the highest tax brackets, and I've survived it all. And I'm like, none of that stuff even matters. You know, I don't have a closet full of brand name clothes anymore, but I have fun when I go to Marshalls and Target and secondhand stores, and I find things that I like, that I'm choosing, not necessarily are choosing me, so to speak. But we're all here to just live in this very moment and decide, how am I the best instrument, and where do I fit in this orchestra? Or am I supposed to be in a symphony? Or am I supposed to just be a solo artist on the corner somewhere for a while? We're going to survive, and
yeah,
you'll
well,
thrive in your survival.
that was a lovely thing that I got in the discussions I had this afternoon at this place, and that is that you know Christ consciousness is one consciousness, but you are an individual all at the same time. Because
Mm-hmm.
why? And I think that's one of the things people struggle with, and including me. Um, one that we are one consciousness, but I'm still Mark and you're still Sandra, and we've still got these.
Mm-hmm.
And part of this is like where you have to let go of that identity. And I think, well, you do, but you don't. Because I got told when I was suicidal 5 years ago, you have to let go of everything, and I was like, everything, really? I've got 5 children. I can't let go of everything. Everything. And it took me ages to work it out, that you have to let things go so they can come back the way they're supposed to, because it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's like a kind of, in the Lemurian sense, we were created in the undistorted light, and we've been in the time of the distorted light, and we're going back to the undistorted light, which means you have to turn it off and turn it on again like a computer, and then it resets the frequency, and that's it, off we go. And linear time, although it's very strange at the moment, like we mentioned a couple of times, and I'm seeing that on all the social media channels. People are like, I don't know what day of the week it is. Where's this year gone? How is it Christmas? It's all this kind of same stuff. Because it is all, it's like being in a soup and being energetically pulled this way and this way between the old you, the new you, the higher self, your 3D self. And it is a difficult process, but it's going to be great. It's going to be great the other side. I just got this
Mm-hmm.
massively exciting feeling about where what it's going to be like. And what I love about it is that I don't know everything at all. And things just get released to me when it's right. And I think that's the same with everybody else, is like you get to know the bits that you need to know to get you to the next step when you need
Yeah.
to know them. And some things shouldn't be in the field anyway, because of the way the game's playing out, which is really this billions of pieces multi-dimensional chessboard, and everything's sort of moving around as it should. And if you tune into it, it's actually gorgeous. It's actually absolutely beautiful. In the same way that a flower doesn't put any effort into looking stunning.
Mhm.
Doesn't need to.
Yeah.
It just is, you know?
Yeah. Well, we're all shedding and splitting from self, from the old self. It's happening whether you're giving it permission to or not. And this whole thing with time change and communication, spirits just told me I'm learning how to communicate in a different way. So there are times where I trip over a word and I literally was like, "Oh dear God, don't check my IQ today because I won't even get out of the house." Like this is bad. Like, and I feel like I've dumbed down so much. I'm like, I don't even know how to be productive in society right now or what I have to offer the world at this point in time. And then I have to do my resume and I'm looking at my resume and I'm going, oh, if anyone judged me on paper, I really suck at this time. But then I say to myself, oh my gosh, I have so much to offer. I am so much. I am part of the road traveled. And that's what's important because the road traveled is what's going to help us rebuild or build anew from what no longer serves. And that's key. So we're learning how to speak and talk, and the linear time frame is dissolving. So I don't go into all this numerology and what today's date is and what it represents, because what it represents here where I am right now or what it might represent where you are or another part of the country could be something completely different. So I don't think spirit really works on a lot of the man-made things at this point. I think we're going back and we're recreating creation in a way from more of an original light source God spark self. So that's how I feel about it.
No, I agree. It's the undistorted light. It's the original blueprint. It's the original frequencies, and
Mm-hmm.
it's stunningly gorgeous to be, and a privilege to be part of it. And the fact that the fact that you're on YouTube and you've got, I'm gonna, if you send me this video, I'll put it on my channel as well. You've got
Thank you.
embodiments of the soul.com, which is where your work is, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yes.
you're doing stuff, and that's brilliant.
Yes. I'm always spirit driven. I commune with myself. You know, when I say we're splitting ourselves apart, we're also becoming mirror twins with our higher self in some ways. So we're embodying the soul and the soul self of the twin that we are that's on the other side,
Hmm.
helping us be who we are to be. And that's the embodiment and then the oneness and the real awakening.
No, it's interesting you said that because I saw a meme yesterday, I think. I can't remember who wrote it, so I apologize if it was you and you're watching this. But it was like, instead of looking for the so-called twin flame, look for your higher self.
Yeah.
'Cause that's
Yeah.
really the twin flame that you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
get a real head shaking in there when I hear all these people talking about helping you find your twin flame. You'd find a needle in a haystack a lot easier than you would that because most of them are not here on this surface at this time. You may find a unique soulmate based on your work, but that's different. That's a whole other story. I know it's late. I know we had some delays today, but I am so grateful that we finally got to come on and to do this. And I appreciate you very much.
well, thank you, Sandra. Shall I send you a copy of my book?
Yes, I would love that. Just as long as you autograph it,
I will. Send me your address and
I will
because
do that.
I've
I
got
will
a
do
few.
that because God wins. This
Oh,
is the
yeah.
truth. You guys, you're not in a battle because there's nothing else to really battle anymore but yourself and the old paradigm of the evil versus good because good is all here. You just got to get over yourself and just look at things like, oh, this is a little more simpler than I thought and keep it spiritually simple. That's my motto too. So stay put, Mark. Is there any parting words that you'd like to say before I end this and then we'll chat for a quick sec?
Yeah, I was just laughing because the book is called God Wins. Lewis Herms said you should call it God Won. I was like, well, yeah, but God Wins is a better. I just think it's a better terminology, and it was also in Q. But it's funny that it's 2020 to 22 and
Mm-hmm.
not 23, 24 because I've shifted gear and sometimes I do feel, and I'm going to tell this story because I think some people might feel like this, and this it runs through some of the things you said about tripping over things that you think are there that aren't actually there. But I'm always reminded of the story of the Japanese soldier who was found 20, 30 years after World War II ended, but nobody told him. So he was still shooting at people when they found him on the island because, the war was over, but he didn't know, and he'd survived all that time. And it's time to come home. That's what it's time for.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. Well, Mark, thanks for being on. And everybody, do us a favor, like, subscribe, share, leave us your comments, help with the algorithm, help to support each other on our journeys here, and to get messages out that are hearted, but more importantly, are self-empowering, and help you find tools so that you can find your power, you can find your dials, you can help shift your gears through listening to people like Mark and I and others that are out there. And if we can't help you, maybe we can refer you to someone who can. So thanks for watching. Bye, everybody. Say bye, Mark.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.